So going a bit further back in history now, so this is from Starrcade 85. So it's an I Quit match between Tully Blanchard and Magnum TA. Two guys that maybe the younger fans may not be fully aware of. I mean, probably people would know Tully from his appearances in AEW, but I mean, I kind of chose there's a few matches I could have chosen, but I wanted to go with this one because I don't get enough opportunity to talk about Tully Blanchard. I think he's just one of my sort of most favourite wrestlers, certainly from outside WWE, but like taking all things into account, he's always been kind of up there for me. Always been like, obviously, I adore Ric Flair, obviously, but other than Flair, he was like my favourite member of the Horsemen, and he just put on some fantastic matches. And this one is so it's an I Quit match, and obviously we've seen many I Quit matches over the years, and they obviously find different ways to kind of end the match, and there've been some very kind of creative ways of reaching the conclusion when it comes to I Quit matches, but this is probably the most believable I Quit match you'll ever watch. Like it's such a raw kind of desperate scramble with two guys genuinely just trying to destroy each other, and I don't know if it's just the dynamics of the two of them together, or because obviously they're in the cage as well, so it has that kind of shoot like MMA type feel to it. And just the way that they incorporate some kind of foreign objects to it, but they don't overdo it. So obviously, with the finish of the match comes down to like a chair leg being sort of thrusted into Tully's face and everything, and it's so subtly done, but just so effective. And this is pretty much kind of peak like NWA for me. Like, this is still when it's the Jim Crockett Promotions and NWA putting in the Starrcade shows together. It just works on so many different levels, and it's what you would expect to see from two guys who are literally trying to make each other say I quit. That's why I've just always loved this match. What were your thoughts on it?
I think we can pat ourselves on the back because while talking about non-WWE matches, we've really picked two offerings that are different from your staple WWE fare as you can get, but they're still really, really good. So then, as you said, this is an I Quit match that does not feel like a choreographed affair. This feels like two people literally going out of their way to make each other, quit, to push each other to the breaking point. The fight is brutal. They escalate the tempo in a subtle and gradual manner. Every move they do makes sense. This isn't one of those crazy ECW style death matches. I mean, we love Paul Heyman, but okay. ECW style death matches where they're just like throwing barbed wire around and setting things on fire. It makes sense that they're using these weapons. It makes sense the way that they use these weapons. Even the finish where you use like the wooden spike from the chair and Magnum TA stabs Tully Blanchard in the forehead and everything. Even that, I mean, that's not something you'll ever see in WWE, that little bit of improvisation, in my opinion. So, yeah, I mean, this was a really pleasant surprise, and I'm glad you asked me to watch this match.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually. I mean, because I came about it pretty much by accident as well. It's just not a match that you hear that many people talk about. Maybe that's just we're kind of in our own little like WWE echo chamber when it comes to like listening to people on YouTube talk about wrestling. But it's just not a match that I was particularly aware of, and I think I just randomly decided one time just to watch some of the old school Starrcades because I was just kind of like interested in what they were and some of the stars around at that time. And this match just came about. I wasn't I didn't watch Starrcade 85 for this match in particular. It just kind of came on as I was watching the show, and I was just so pleasantly surprised. It was it's rare to kind of find this kind of classic gem that you haven't seen clips of all over the place. I hadn't seen a single second of this match before I watched it all the way through. And it's just so entertaining. I mean, it's like, yeah. I mean, you've got like when you think about like extreme violence in wrestling, you think about those ECW death matches and everything. But like in a way, this was almost kind of harder to watch than some of the death matches we've seen, with people being suplexed through barbed wire and everything. Like, because I think that it's owed to the fact that it was just more of a believable dynamic between the two. Yeah, like we say, like literally there's two guys doing what they can to make the other quit. Because I mean, I don't even like they didn't even really kind of mess around with some of the more kind of traditional wrestling moves. Like, if you think back to the match between Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins from last year, where they were trying to gouge each other's eyeball out, but they still started the match with a lock up and suplexes and things. And you think, like the idea is to take the other person's eyeball out. Why are you doing traditional wrestling moves like this? And obviously Tully and Magnum TA understood that back then, and thought, this isn't going to be a wrestling match. This is a scrap. Like this is like a bar fight.
Yes, yeah.
And it's like so close to reality that in a way it's harder to watch than some of the more sort of violent matches that like other companies have put on over the years.
Yeah, exactly. And that little attention to detail just goes such a long way. Like, as opposed to like a traditional like test of strength or whatever, they're literally punching the shit out of each other on the mat.
Yeah. I mean, anyone who hasn't seen it, which I imagine will be quite a few, I definitely encourage to go out and watch this one, because you will be pleasantly surprised. And also, I mean, I didn't know hardly anything about Magnum TA actually before this. I kind of heard his name mentioned from older fans and everything, but like at the time, I think he was seen as somebody who was ready to take the next step and be the kind of the main event star for that company. And I think he had a few. I think he had a bit of bad luck over the years and didn't quite reach that potential. I don't really know the full story. I think that, like there's information that you can find out there about what happened to him. But I mean, if he'd kind of replicated this sort of match against the likes of Flair and the other main event stars at the time, then he would have been a tremendous asset to the NWA.
So, and then I think basically he had like a really bad car accident, and like the right side of his body was basically paralyzed for a long time, so he just couldn't wrestle anymore.
Yeah, I know there was something with a car crash. I didn't know exactly what the details were and everything, but just one of them that never kind of lived up to the sort of the true potential. There's always something a bit, I suppose, like, I don't know if this is the right word, but there's always something like sort of romantic about those sorts of guys from the past that could have been so much more than they were. Like, similar, like in a way to Brian Pillman, almost, like with all the bad luck he had, and like I think with him it was more about kind of his personal demons and everything. But like he was a star that you think never really lived up to what he could have been, and he could have been something like incredibly special. In the same way that Magnum TA was. So, a little bit of a bittersweet kind of feel to this one. But as a match itself, from start to finish, it's just absolutely tremendous.
I mean, Dan, it's weird how everything sort of ties back to the modern day. Tully Blanchard, of course, now a veteran of all elite wrestling, or gymnastics, as true professional wrestling enthusiasts like to talk about it.
No surprise that he's actually quite a redeemable part of AW. I mean, I'm glad that he's aligned himself with like more guys now, because when he was just Sean Spears' manager, I just thought that's just a waste of what they could do with him.
I mean, I guess if you're going to align yourself with anybody in AEW, it might as well be MJF. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And he also he fits the revival sort of shtick as well so well, because it's I think they got quite a lot of inspiration from him and Arn Anderson.